Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Loatin. Last time we talked about a particular Crash Bandicoot fan game by the name of Retro Hijinx. I talked about how the game had malware on it that can delete certain files on your computer. Since then, the creator has, he said some pretty heinous stuff about me. From asking me to take my first video down to threatening my life, no joke. The creator of the game, Guys the Raptor, isn't too happy with the video I made. Well, since then, apparently a new demo of his game came out, which, according to him, has no malware, which I hope it doesn't. But I'm not going to play it because, well, I'd rather play a fan game and not a hate game. And that's really what Retro Hijinx technically is. It's a hate game specifically made to spite the new Activision Crash games. Even outside of the malware that was implanted, the game has absolutely no passion, and if you think I'm being petty towards someone who's done a ton of wrong, I'm just going to read to you some of the posts that this individual has made. And by some, I mean one, because I tried to read some of them, but I read this one and I decided I'm not going to read any more than that. I want to clarify that this person is not a troll. This is something that was made just to mess with people. This is someone who literally wants people who develop these games to die. Look at this fan art. Now, Geist the Raptor has a lot of rant posts, but I wanted to read this one in particular because I think it represents Geist's overall mentality in a nutshell. So, here we go. Let us drop into this rabbit hole of complete and utter fucking destruction.
Read before bad-mouthing my game. If you already prefer to appreciate the original Crash Bandicoot franchise instead of Activision shovelware, this journal is not for you. This is for all the vice versa wands.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you all heard that right. If you like the original Crash franchise instead of whatever Activision's made, this is not for you. This is all for the vice versa. This is all for you guys. For all you guys who appreciate the original Crash franchise, whatever the fuck that means. Please get out of here. You don't belong here. This is for big brains only.
So first off, ask yourselves, back before Insane Trilogy was even announced, didn't you all want the genuine Article Crash Bandicoot from Naughty Dog Games? Goofy, but edgy and agile orange badass that broke crates and grabbed crystals along the way? And the immersive formula that was introduced in it? All that instead of what Activision eventually gave?
What are you talking about? I'd argue that that's what Activision gave us. Like, have you played the Insane Trilogy? Have you played, like, It's About Time? Like, sure, it's not the same graphic-wise, but it's the same games, it's the same gameplay style, it's the same break crates, go through the levels, collect Wumpa Fruit, collect gems and shit. Like, what, can you please, you gotta elaborate on what you mean here, buddy.
And what Activision gave instead? Plain frauds! Two mockeries of Naughty Dog's old PS1 crashes.
All PS1 crashes. Nice, good spelling there, bucko.
And the faulty non-canon fake direct sequel warped never needed. I mean, there hasn't been an authentic Crash Bandicoot game yet since CNK or Insanity, and there still isn't.
What?
And if Activision keeps tarnishing Crash franchise, there will never be any more authentic Crash games. So now that I, the individual longtime fan of Crash Bandicoot, am doing my best to make the first authentic Crash game in decades, you should show some appreciation instead of discouraging me, bad-mouthing me, and desiring my demise.
Okay, first off, who the hell gave you the authority to define which Crash games are official and which ones aren't? Last time I checked, Activision owned the license, not you. Sure, you may not like the Activision Crash games, and you don't have to, but that doesn't mean they're unofficial. That's like the most stupid mentality I've ever heard in my life.
I don't like the game Sonic Heroes, but does that automatically make it an unofficial Sonic game? No. No, it wouldn't, because that would be stupid. And second of all, I don't have to show you any sort of appreciation, especially after you put malware in your own game. That's really egocentric of you to say, buddy.
I mean, look at yourselves in the mirror. You've never made any video games in your life. I bet you can't even draw. And most importantly, I doubt you are Crash Bandicoot fans to begin with.
Really? Really? Ugh, you're so right. You're so right. I'm not a Crash fan. I'm a fake Crash Bandicoot fan. Just because I enjoy the Activision Crash games, that automatically means that I'm a fake Crash fan. Jeez, that just disvalues my whole life. Guys, you gotta understand, Crash Bandicoot is my favorite video game franchise of all time. And you know what? It's been my favorite franchise for like my entire life as a gamer. But you know what? It was all for nothing, because you know what? I enjoy games by a certain company that was made by a certain company, so that automatically means that I'm not a Crash fan anymore. Jeez. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Actually, no, it's not. It's not. It's not at all. I'm not a fake Crash fan. I've loved this series since I was a kid, and just because I enjoy certain games doesn't mean that I'm not a Crash fan. I think that's kind of obvious, but maybe not to you, Mr. Raptor.
But I've beaten the first 3 Crash games, as well as Excess and Entrance, played some CTR and Wrath of Cortex, and tried out Bash and Nitro Kart, and I've been self-training my drawing, modeling, animation, and game development skills for years. And while developing Crash Bandicoot Retro Hijinx, I can discover and learn things new about Unity.
Oh, guys, we can't criticize him. This guy is the real Crash fan. He's beaten the first 3 games, he's beaten Excess, he's beaten Entrance, he's played some of CTR and Wrath of Cortex. He's never beaten them, like I have, multiple times. But you know what? He's never beaten them. But forget that! He's the real Crash fan. He's the real Crash Bandicoot professional expert. If you want to look for tips and tricks on learning the path of Crash Bandicoot wisdom, you need to go to Guys the Raptor, because he knows everything. He is the Crash Bandicoot king. And you can also draw and make models in Blender or 3ds Max or whatever the hell modeling software he uses. Like, he can make he's an artist, dude. He's an artist. You shouldn't criticize him. You can't do that. You can't do that, man. He is the fucking king. He is Gaius the Raptor. He knows what he's doing. He's the professional Crash Bandicoot expert. And you should respect him. You need to respect him instead of disavowing him. You need to respect him. Forget the fact that he put malware in his game. Forget the fact that he said that he's wanted people to die for liking certain video games. Nah, you need to respect this person because he is a professional Crash Bandicoot expert and he's an artist. Amazing.
And before you think Activision shovelware are better and more authentic and more faithful than Retro Hijinx, read this carefully. CRH utilizes actual assets and sound effects from Naughty Dog's games, while the ones in the remakes and It's About Time are retard lackluster recreations.
What? Are you kidding me?
Okay, I know the quality of sounds are subjective, but sound effects back in the day, especially on the PS1, were literally just little bite-sized sounds. They were literally kilobytes. They're tiny sounds, you know what I mean? The sound effects in the newer games, they they have a beginning, middle, and end. They're actually like big files, and there's more going on in them. To call them retard, lackluster recreations, like, what? Like, bro, you need to get yourself checked out.
Crash Retro Hijinx has actual Crash Bandicoot characters, while the remakes in It's About Time have none.
They have none? Huh.
Instead, they just have a bunch of retard ogres impersonating Crash and others poorly and incompetently. Remakes in It's About Time are stuffed with misinformation about the Crash franchise, contradicting and neglecting everything that the original Crash franchise taught. That won't be the case in Retro Hijinx.
Are you seriously one of those people who are pissed that the game retconned everything after Warped? Like, what? Don't get me wrong, I'm salty about that too. I wish they could have continued off of Mind Over Mutant. I wish, but you know what? It doesn't matter, because you know what? It's Crash Bandicoot. Who gives a fuck what they contradict? It's literally a cartoon video game about a cartoon Bandicoot who runs in a linear structure. I'm trying to, you know what, whatever. Let's just continue on with this disaster.
Crash Retro Hijinx is not a remake nor a direct sequel, also known as it doesn't aim to blatantly substitute any of the original Crash games like Activision's Crash games are doing. Or it doesn't even need a direct sequel because, like I said in the other journal, there's absolutely no reasonable or satisfying way to continue directly from where Warped left off. That's why Wrath and Cortex and Excess were non-direct sequels. That's why CTR and Bash were spin-offs. And that's why Retro Hijinx is either a non-direct sequel or not a sequel at all.
So which either is it? Is it a non-direct sequel or a non-sequel? Like, you're the developer, you should be the one who defines that. Like, what? And second of all, who the fuck cares? That's a fucking game about a cartoon orange Bandicoot. Like, shouldn't you be more happy about the fact that we have a new Crash game instead of waiting for another 12 years of nothingness? Oh, but the fact that it's a direct sequel to Warped? Oh, that's terrible. That's just terrible. You can't have a game be a direct sequel to Warped. It can't work. You can't do that. You just can't. Ah!
Crash Retro Hijinx has no online features and doesn't require logging in with any accounts at this point. Even downloading it from GameJolt doesn't require a GameJolt account. And most importantly, Retro Hijinx is aiming to be a Crash Bandicoot game and nothing else, both visually and gameplay-wise. While remakes and It's About Time aren't Crash Bandicoot games to begin with, at all.
Again, who are you to define which Crash games are official and unofficial? You, the one Crash fan, that's just, like, who gave you that authority?
All. Insane Trilogy and It's About Time are mere mockeries towards Naughty Dog's games, and It's About Time is more of a platformer adaptation of Overwatch, of anything.
What? Overwatch is a fucking shooter. Are you kidding me? You're comparing a platformer to a shooter. Do you understand how nonsensical you sound? People, it's hard to believe that this isn't a troll.
The latter comes off no surprise because Overwatch is Activision's game as well. Might also explain Nitrofield's exaggerated and futile customization and screwed up character animations. In other words, Activision never published any Crash games, ever. And Vicarious Visions, Baynox, and Toys for Bob never made any Crash games. All that time, talent, and effort you claim they've put into Insane Trilogy and its Nitrofield, and It's About Time, none of it was put to make a Crash Bandicoot game. It was put on completely
something completely else. It was put on 4K graphics, CalArts-esque art style, aforementioned exaggerated customizations, MTX, internet dependency, futile extra features that rather tarnish the franchise more in heavily altered gameplay formula that doesn't even belong to Crash Game. Those games don't even introduce what was so good, great, or catchy, or revolutionary in the Crash games.
Oh my god. So, because it's a modern game, it's automatically bad. Okay, and also, the internet dependency thing, that's kind of bullshit. Like, you can play these games offline. You know that, right? Like, who told you? Who gave you that information? It goes to really show how much of a Crash Bandicoot expert you are. And look, like I said, you don't have to like the Activision Crash games. I don't even like Insane Trilogy that much. I actually prefer the original games, but just because other people like it doesn't mean that they're bad people or that they're mentally ill. It just means that they have a different opinion from me, which is okay. You can have a different opinion from someone else. To quote Mudahar for a second, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. You shouldn't give people shit for having one that's different from yours.
To put it bluntly, all that time, talent, and effort has all been wasted. Accent on wasted. So if you prefer and believe in Activision's lies instead of the original Crash franchise and everything they teach, you're not a Crash Bandicoot fan. You're either a fan of something else or not a fan of all. So bad-mouthing me, Crash Retro Hijinx, or original Crash franchise only further proves that either Activision shovelware has deprived your appreciation towards original Crash franchise, or you're not Crash fans to begin with. It also proves that you have a lousy self-esteem, otherwise you wouldn't try to ruin my self-esteem by picking on me, banning me, bad-mouthing me, discriminating me, or forcing me to kill myself.
Oh, the internet is full of the biggest bunch of randoms, you know? Biggest bunch of randoms you've ever seen, don't you think?
I thought Nate for 20 was the top of Mount Cuckoo, but nope, I was so wrong. Jesus, I was so very, very wrong.
And what helps bad self-esteem? Well, what I've read, psychotherapists.
Yeah, you should probably look into it more, Gaius the Raptor.
Also, you may suffer from
Oh my god.
You may also suffer from schizophrenia, aka substitutions against, like, say, 5th gen and 6th gen games, including original Crash games, such as fear that low polygons would blow your head apart, or that a faithful recreation of original Crash games with its original assets and used would attract a comet and destroy Earth, or that a physical PC disc would jump out of the optical drive and slice your head off. Silly things that are physically and logically impossible, and what nobody has any evidence about. From what I read, schizophrenia can be cured with an appropriate medication that can only be prescribed by a professional medical doctor, which you should go see, of course.
Yeah. Yes, we should go see a doctor. Who gave you that idea? Who gave you the impression that... Who said that? Who said that was ever gonna happen? You did. Nobody else. Like, I can't with this guy. I can't. It's really hard to read this and take this guy seriously. Like, Gaius, here's what you need to do. Go outside.
there is this beautiful thing called grass. Go touch it a bit. Maybe you should realize that there's more to life than fucking video games. And just because certain people may or may not like a video game doesn't mean they're gonna die from it. Who gave you that idea? Like, what? That is the most silly thing I've ever heard in my entire fucking life. Like, no exaggeration. I've never heard anything more sillier than that. Then there's peer pressure, aka the majority of Crash fans accepting an individual's fan log of these only if he surrenders to Activision's shovelware and suffers the medical problems they cause, such as Stockholm Syndrome, a positive emotional bond between torturer or kidnapper and its victim, forcing the victim to support the torturer or kidnapper to proceed with its malice. In this case, Activision, their devs, and their Crash games are the torturer.
Are you seriously bringing Stockholm Syndrome into fucking our enjoyment of video games? Are you seriously saying that just because we like a certain game you don't, that we automatically have Stockholm Syndrome? Bro, I have nothing to say of that. Just everybody who's watching, please, I hope you're having a good laugh at home. I really hope you are. 'Cause I sure as hell am.
Anyway, if you're gonna cyberbully me about Crash franchise or believe in anybody else that's bad-mouthing me, consider really, really hard. Go learn about the original canon Crash franchise, the first Crash Bandicoot game, up to Nitro Kart, to Insanity and CTTR are semi-canon and therefore forgivable, unlike CTTR games from Boom Bang up and to Crash and On the Run, including the mobile Nitro Kart games, which are quality bootleggy. Their canon characters and their games never achieved each category. Notice how similar to Crash Retro Hijinx is to them. How poorly Activision's Crashes imitate them, and what all things are wrong with Activision's Crashes. Plus, here are some verbals you should ban, blah blah blah. I'm not reading this. Disregard everything they say. They are sluts, they are not worth your time or patience, and if they're members of your group, ban them! Same with anybody who else who badmouths me or attempts to. By the way, plenty of people who saw Crash Retro Hijinx realize its authenticity and faith towards the source material, and positively look towards its completion regardless of flaws that are left to fix. They are truly have a good taste. And now, to help you appreciate the original Crash franchise, here are the official trailers of some of the games. Some of them contains whip footage. Okay, that's it. Thank God we're at the end of that. Oh my lord. So, yeah. That was the post by Gaius the Raptor. Read before bad-mouthing my game. So what are my general thoughts? Well, this person is very clearly not mentally stable. This person takes video games way too seriously, and I honestly think it's kind of sad. Like, I don't know much about this Gaius the Raptor individual, but from reading this post, it's clear that this person doesn't have much of a social life outside of the internet. And this isn't some kid. This guy is apparently in his mid to late 20s, so it's not like I'm picking on a little kid. It's someone who's clearly not all there in terms of mental stability. Gaius, I know you'll see this video. I 100% know you'll see this video. And I'm gonna be brutally honest with you, man. Get a life, dude. You take video games way too seriously, and it's not worth harassing and threatening other people just because they enjoy games you don't. It's funny how you call all of us mentally unstable and fake Crash fans, when in reality, it's kind of the other way around. Like, your entire reason for making your Crash fan game is to spite the Activision Crash games, which is just childish. And that's why I don't want to play it, because it's not a passion project. It's a hate project. And if you ask me,
A real Crash fan would make a Crash game out of love, not hate. That's all I have to say for this video. I just will ask for you all, please do not harass Gaius the Raptor. Like I said, this guy is clearly not mentally stable, and I think harassing him is the last fucking thing he needs on his plate. It's not gonna do him any good. It's not gonna do anyone any good, so please don't do that. But please leave your thoughts in the comment area below, and I'll see you guys later. Adios.